Cash-a-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to episode 177, our 34th randomized edition. And, we put that in Roman numerals to kind of get some of the guys like Head, Heart, Hat a little bit confused. So let's try that in Roman numerals, which is XXXIV.
Does
that make sense to you?
With that many numerals, I need an IV.
Well, but, Chris, it's not about the numbers.
Well, that's what I hear. It's not about the numbers because there's letters involved here.
Yes,
I have
there's
no
many
problem
letters
with Roman numerals, but when you start piling up 5 and 6 of them, I have to start thinking and doing math in my head, and it slows me down just a little bit. So, I say keep them going for a little bit longer because I need that mental challenge.
Well, this is all practice for those puzzle caches which use the Roman numerals. So this is all just part of our exercise to get people a little bit better at the puzzle caches.
I like it. Now, if we can come up with words that include all the letter or the Roman numerals in the right order, wouldn't that be something?
I'm not sure what something it would be, but it would definitely be something.
Okay,
well, for anyone who's joining us for the first time, this is the GeoGearHeads, and it's a weekly show about geocaching, tech, and all kinds of cool stuff for the location-based gamers.
And numbering systems.
And numbering systems, too. And this week we are going to have a little different show from usual. The randomized shows, we try to cover a whole bunch of different smaller topics instead of one big topic for the whole show. And we're actually supposed to have a guest on who's having a little bit of trouble, and that's actually Mike Miller of the Cache and Release program, who's still working on those problems, but we had to get started with the show. And we had a special question that we asked just for his time here on the show. So, Chris, why don't we get into that one?
Well, certainly, I do enjoy the Cache and Release program. I have to say that to start with. Now, last week we asked you to send us which is the only geocaching.com listed geocache within Disney's Magic Kingdom Park. Now, our guest is a fan of the park and, just talked on his show about doing that cache. So, Daryl, do you want to tell us what that cache is?
I do, and hopefully Mike will be here shortly and tell us a little about it. But it's Magic Kingdom. Kind of makes it really, really easy, which was GC10FB. It's a virtual cache hidden back in July of 2001, right in the hub of the park. The cache owner, Buddha Vista, wrote this description. As the name suggests, this is the center of a Magic Kingdom. I just wanted to mark a spot from our vacation at a location that millions will pass by. So that was a very, very cool cache that I actually did myself during a family reunion kind of thing, and it was a really, really bad photo that I took. It was with the front-facing camera of my iPhone 3G, if I remember. So everyone, please don't go looking for that one.
Well, Daryl, I don't think you have to worry because I don't think anybody's going to go looking for that log from July 10th, 2010. However, everybody else is going to have that quality of picture in that time frame. So I think you're okay.
See, and I was thinking everyone else would have gone with the nice little point-and-shoots because that was still kind of rare at that point that people had smartphones.
Yeah, but were they using point-and-shoots to do selfies back in the day? Back in the day. I sound old, don't I? That was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing was, I think with the 3G, that was one of the first cameras that actually, or the first phones that actually had that front-facing camera.
I think you're exactly right.
So I don't know that there were many people actually using it for the selfies back then.
No, back then, if I was using a point and shoot to do virtual, so I'd take a picture of myself or have someone take a picture of me, then have to come back home and log it on the computer after I had downloaded the photo. It was a lot of work.
It was, and it looks like we might have Michael on. So, Michael, if you're on, I understand that you're offering to take any GeoGearhead to personally take them around to that cache if they're ever in the park, right? Oh, we don't have audio. I'm sorry.
Well,
this has been our luck tonight.
Of course, he'd love to meet up with you.
As he also says in most of his shows as well.
That's hard for the listeners to know what he's saying as we're reading lips. So.
Yeah, but he'll continue to work on it, and hopefully we'll get him on in a little bit there.
Well, Daryl, it so happens next year I probably will be heading down that way, and for me that's almost as far away as I can get from my home coordinates, and I'd love to be able to meet up with Michael and get some of those rare grandfathered virtual caches while they're still in play.
Well, there's, I believe, one in each of the parks, plus one or two in some of the resorts. I know I got most of them down there. I only have one left to do at the Wilderness Lodge, I think it was.
Well, the last time I was in Disney World was soon after I got married, so that was well before the big blue switch was thrown. However, Daryl, getting back to the question, here's what I really want to know, is who was drawn as this week's winner?
Well, this week we had Team Poogatch, which I think is kind of ironic since he was just on the show not long ago. And he did win the prize and picked a couple of the travel tags, the state travel tags, from coinsandpins.com.
Nice.
But this is a live show, and we've got one of the, well, they're all live shows, I guess, but this is a randomized show with a live drawing. And for anyone who's listening live or watching live, we have a chance for you to get one of these very cool antique bronze Cosmolab geocoins. So I'm not sure what that actually is. I'll have to look that up after the show. But it's cool. I really want one of these in my collection. But if you are watching us live, get an email going with the subject Randomize24 and address it to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com. In the body, drop your geocaching.com screen name and the right answer to the following question. You may have caught the end of the Cache and Release show that Michael has borrowed a phrase from the host of a popular Walt Disney World show. What we want to know is from whom was that phrase borrowed? And unfortunately, Mike still doesn't seem to have audio, but he is a fan of Lou Mangello's show, which is WDW Radio, and he actually ran into Lou Mangello at the Disney Star Wars weekend, got a chance to talk podcasting too. So the "you are my friends" phrase that really meant something to him as well as to obviously Lou, and since geocachers are such a fun group of people, he decided to borrow that phrase. So that's the right answer. It's Lou Mangello. Have that email with your geocaching.com screen name and the name Lou Mangello in the subject. Well, actually, in the body. Don't put it in the subject. That's a little too much. In the subject or the title, put Randomize24. Actually, that should be 34. See, now I can't do Roman numerals. Yes. See, it's not just Head Hard Hat who has problems with them. To GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com. But you have to have that to us in what's about 15 minutes from now, actually, which is at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, 7:45 p.m. Pacific, today, May 21st, and you could be drawn as a winner for that really, really cool antique bronze Cosmolab geocoin from coinsandpins.com.
You know, I think if you're ever in a sailboat, you should take this coin with you. I think you can actually navigate your way home with it.
I can't just use a GPS?
Well, yeah, but anybody can do that. But navigate by the sun and stars? That's where this coin really comes in handy. No? Now,
Limax also says in the live Q&A that he just started listening to Cache and Release, and he's really enjoying it. And in Mike's defense, who apparently can't speak for himself, he doesn't have these kind of technical problems on his show. So no, I think it's all us.
Nice.
All right. Why don't we start with Limax's email?
Exactly. We have an email from Limax. It's a continuation of last week's show, and if you didn't listen to it, you should go back. Put this one on pause. go back, listen to it, because you're really going to appreciate what Team Pugach had to say about gearing up your bike. So Limax says, another good place to find bags for bicycles, like Timbuktu, is Waterfield Designs in San Francisco. Their owner, Gary Waterfield, is a former bike messenger as well. And the bags have a lifetime guarantee. They have fixed the zipper on the bag I use for my iPad twice now. I also own 3 other bags of theirs, and I really like them and their customer service. That's really nice. If they replace the bags, they have a lifetime guarantee. You can't beat that.
No, and I'm finding there's quite a few of these bag companies that do that. So it's definitely something to look for. One of the things we didn't mention was I'm also a fan of the Osprey backpacks. They have a similar program as well. And, you know, it's just one of these, spend the money for a good quality bag, and you probably won't have to spend enough money to buy a new one ever again unless you outgrow it or whatever.
I think the same is true for tools.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But Limax also posted on Google Plus that he wanted to let us know when you click on the message the owner from a cache page, it now includes the GC number and the title of the cache. He just tried it today, well, back when he wrote this, on a puzzle for an upcoming trip.
That's really nice to know. That was in response. Oh, go ahead.
Well, but here's the thing. This is using the messaging. It's not using the email feature. So this won't work if someone has the messaging disabled, and this is still in beta. But this is really, I think, the better way to be doing the messaging right now, if it actually works, is through that, because it keeps the information about the cache handy, and you have that whole thread. You don't have to go digging up old emails or anything to try to figure out what someone said.
Exactly. So yeah, the messaging tool I think is going to be nice once they get it out of beta. I mean, it works well now, so getting it out of beta is only going to make it better.
Well, and it is supposed to have the API, and they're rolling it into their apps. Mm-hmm. So with any luck, it won't be too long before we start seeing that coming out, and hopefully they roll that API out to all of the third-party developers, and we're going to start seeing it in some of those. But, you know, Chris, you and I were having a conversation last week before the show that Geosphere had stopped working for me, and I thought it was possibly due to some of the API changes, because a number of people were having the same problem. And then it ended up just working again, so I'm thinking it might have been something else going on.
Solar flares.
But Geosphere seems to have gone unsupported. So if you have an app like that without support from the developer, obviously we're not going to see the messaging coming up.
Right. And, you know, it all depends. I hope it's not something like Gmail, where, you know, the beta was, 6 years?
Yeah.
I don't think it will be.
This is, I think, the kind of thing where one of the reasons we haven't seen the API, or I don't believe we've seen the API, opened up to the developers yet, is they need to get it nailed down as to what it's going to do before they can release the API, because they don't want these third-party guys to start writing it only to have to go back to the drawing board because they decided that they're going to kill this function or change the way this other function works.
Exactly. And, you know, you don't want somebody, you know, hijacking the API and using it for spam. So.
Right.
Can you guys hear me yet?
Yes, we can hear you, Michael.
Success.
Excellent. Well, have you played it all with the messaging feature? And, well, I know you did because you talked about it a little bit.
Yes. I have played around with the messaging system, and I think it's fantastic. But I agree with you, Chris. Hopefully, it doesn't stay in beta forever.
Right. Well, and, I don't think that's going to be an issue with geocaching.com. Once they release something, they keep working on it until they like it.
Yeah, and I hope that they keep it in beta long enough to make sure that it works the way it needs to work, so that it doesn't end up missing the mark.
Yeah, And again, just as long as the beta, I think a year is probably long enough to get all the kinks out of it. But I've only heard good things so far.
Well, and a lot of it really comes down to getting that support into the app, because this is mostly to address the fact that people aren't spending time on the computers like they used to, especially geocachers. They're out in the field using things like their smartphones, so they don't have to sit in front of the computer. So by getting this messaging going, and you don't have to authorize through your email to get the emails, this is going to solve a lot of the problems that we've seen. And once we get this message push notification kind of stuff going, think about how cool it's going to be when you have to ask a cache owner for a hint. And
you're still out in the field. You can stay out in the field.
Yeah,
exactly. And Idle Bear, actually it's Idle Deer. Ideal? I'm not sure exactly what that name is. I apologize. 1999 says he hope it doesn't stay in beta as long as the GeoGearHeads podcast did.
Well, in that case, we didn't have control over the software we were using, so we wanted to make sure we were in beta as long as we needed before we could confirm everything was going to work the way we wanted it to.
Well, and we did have to...
with 176 shows under our belt, we've kind of got it down.
Well, obviously we don't, because we're still having problems.
Oh, yeah. Oops, I forgot about that.
Yeah, with the Google. So that's a large part of the issue, was we were still waiting for Google to come out with the Hangouts on Air for like the first half of that year. Such fun.
Yes, that's what we call it, fun. I had forgotten. Well, should we go on?
I think we probably should.
I say press on.
Press on. The geocaching blog put out a new article. It says, buckle up, your journey to 6 new souvenirs begins here. I'm sure you've heard this before. But don't forget that you can sign up for email reminders for each one of these 6 quests, as they're calling it. From June 19th to September 2nd, find a geocache with 10 or more favorite points. And if you're using the new search functionality on geocaching.com, that is going to be so easy to find. In fact, if you're using the new search on geocaching.com, all of these are going to be very easy to find. I wonder if they planned it that way.
Yeah, I think there's a little conspiracy going there.
I do like the staggered approach to this. Now, all of these quests have to be done by September 2nd, but they start at different time frames. The next one, the second quest, starts July 3rd. It's attend an event, mega event, or giga event. And I'm shooting for a giga event. I don't know of one, but I'd like to attend one. Next, on July 17th, is find a Terrain 5 or Difficulty 5 geocache.
That one I'm actually very excited about.
Yes. I don't know if I can... I'll have to look hard to see if I can find a Terrain 5 cache. I know I can find a Difficulty 5 geocache, but I think I need to do a Terrain 5. And I may just have a kayak lined up to do something just like that. July 31st, it's find an Earth cache or attend a Cedo event. And finally, August 14th, find a mystery cache. And again, it's from the start date till September 2nd. You have the time to go and do this. So if you want to, you could get all 6 quests on September 2nd and claim it all at one shot.
One of the things I found a little bit bizarre about this one is they left the mystery of the puzzle cache to the very end to give you the least amount of time to actually solve a puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you've started it, you can solve the puzzle well ahead of time. You just can't log it until at least the 14th.
Yeah. But the Terrain 5 stuff, the Difficulty 5 stuff, that may take a lot of extra planning. Like Limax said, he's already got his Difficulty 5 cache planned.
Good for him. So
I wish I could look forward that far.
Well, there goes my next question, Michael. I was going to ask the two hosts if you have any caches planned that can fit into these.
I'm looking right now for the the 10 or more favorite points, and of course with the new search, that very simple. And then the event, still looking for that. That's about as far as I've gotten.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't bothered really planning anything out, but my big issue is I've already done so many of the caches around here that I'm going to have to probably go and do something else. Go somewhere else, do something else just to get the caches I need for some of these. Others are going to be pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Mystery cache, I still have puzzle caches that I've solved and haven't gone and found. However, some of them have actually disappeared.
That gives time for a new cache owner to replace that mystery cache or put a brand new one out.
Well, I think that's the whole problem, is that they're archiving these old ones and putting out new ones, which I'm totally for. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing the caches that kind of go dormant, where you're not getting a lot of activity. I'd love to see those replaced with new caches so that we have new stuff to find and get people out caching more again.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely agree.
I'm surprised geocaching.com isn't pushing for anybody placing a cache. Have you noticed the last couple of years their ideas have all been go out and find a cache but not place one?
I have. I'm thinking that they might be working very hard to make sure that they're not getting garbage caches.
I agree.
And that was kind of the point, too, of the maker events.
That's a good point.
Now, Team Dano of Team Pugach, says in the live Q&A that he is going to host an event with Jerry Sand when he comes to Maine for vacation. It'll be like 20 miles from me for a week or so. So I'm assuming that that's going to be a part of the events for the souvenirs.
But he's hosting. Do you mark attend on your own hosted event?
Yes. I will say that in no uncertain terms. If you attend the event, you get to log that you were there. It's the exception to the rule of you can't log your own cache.
Well, there you have it.
And I will say I do know of people who missed their own events.
That seems odd.
It is. But sometimes you just can't avoid a family situation or, getting called into work on a mandatory shift or something. So, yeah, it does happen. I totally understand. And, that's why sometimes you just have to find another person to carry it out for you.
Well, you are the host, so, if you set everything up, you should be able to let it go, spin out of control on its own. Wait, that's not what I meant.
Spinning out of control on their own, that's something I've seen more than a few times. And Nighthawk 700 actually had sent me a note on Google Plus about the geocaching app, saying that the geocaching app is now the geocaching backcountry app on Android, and the name change was given the title here, the perfect app for when your geocaching adventures take you beyond the reaches of cell signal.
So, Daryl, the big changes here are offline storage. You can cache maps, you can, take geocaches offline, obviously when you're beyond cell signal. The big negative I've heard towards this is they changed the color of the icon. That's what everybody seems to be complaining about. They made it a brown icon. How ugly.
Yeah, well, and I can see that too because it's going to confuse people. But I haven't used it recently. I'm just really shocked with all the problems that I was having with the offline features on the Android version, 6 months ago, that it's come far enough that they're willing to advertise this. Mm-hmm. So I really need to dig out my Nexus 4, which is somewhere in some box right now, and actually give it a shot again.
I don't think we mentioned it, but it bears saying that this is only for the Android version. The iOS
Correct.
version, the Windows Phone hasn't changed. Just the Android version.
Now, Dano of Team Pugach says that he's a big fan of Maps.me on the iPhone for offline maps. But that's not within the actual geocaching app, so you have to jump out and use a different app for that. For the offline maps, the one that I had been using, and I really should get back into it, especially because Geosphere has gone unsupported, is the, why can't I remember the name of it now? The Looking for Cache.
Looking for Cache.
That was a really, really good one. And Dano also, or no, this is actually Limax, I apologize, says he wishes there were a better alternative for a geocaching app for the iPad. And I think that's one of the things we keep wishing for here as well.
Yes.
But the
Looking
for cache.
It's just blown
Yeah, well,
up.
Geosphere is still in the iPhone mode, and again, it's gone unsupported. The developer has been MIA for over a year now. So Looking for Cache actually was doing really well. It's just, it's a German developer, as I recall, and there are some quirks with the language, but the interface is not very smartphone familiar. It doesn't seem like an Android or an iOS app. But if you can get your head around it, it is really nice, and it has some really awesome features, like the ability to log for multiple people in a party.
Mm-hmm.
That is a neat feature.
Yeah, it's not something that most people use often, but especially for like power caching, that would be very cool. And it does have the ability to use those special tags and things.
Now, Daryl, aren't there two versions of that? Is there a pro and a free version?
There is. The pro version gives you the ad-free support, and I think you have to. Yeah, I haven't looked at it recently, but it used to be that for offline maps you needed to have the pro version.
Okay.
So that's the big thing. If you want to give it a shot, though, certainly download the free version and try it out. See if you can wrap your head around it. If so, then you probably want to get the pro version.
Wise move as always.
Well, Mike, what did you use for your smartphone?
I just use the regular geocaching.com app. I've got an iPhone, and it's an easy go-to. I've used it for such a long time that it's one of those I can just open it and I know everything that I can do with it. But here's my question. You were talking about iPad earlier. I didn't realize there was an interest in using iPads out in the field.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge interest in it. I've actually seen people caching with their iPads, but the bigger thing for like Chris and I is to use it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now,
that makes sense.
Especially for things like the nav.
And, you know, taking something that big out in the field is a little awkward, but it's really nice to sign the logs on. You got a good flat surface that you know is clean. But, yeah, I have used it, and, you know, like I say, it's a little awkward, but it works. You know, you cache with whatever you have.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I will say the iPad mini is not nearly as bad as a full-size iPad. It's kind of like taking out something like, you know, Nexus 7 or, you know, if you're into the Kindle, something like that as well. But it's not as compact and easy to walk around with. If you have vision issues or something like that, then it's really nice to have that. Dano of Team Pugash says that the iPads in the field are frequently for boaters and planes, though I don't know how planes would go caching.
Well, you just got to watch that first step.
So the skydivers, not necessarily the planes.
You just dive right over ground zero, hope you hit it.
Ida Bear? No, that's not the right way to say it. Ida Deer, how's that? 1999? Chris, you have any idea what that name is supposed to be? So I quit botching it.
IDE, deer. Ida dear, Ida dear.
Yeah, I apologize for messing up the name, but we'll go with Ida Deer. Pocket Earth works great for offline mapping, not satellite photos. On the iPhone, a geocaching app can push a pin to Pocket Earth so you can navigate to it by road too. We've talked about that quite a bit too, where you use other apps to do the actual navigation because you don't have it. And then Limex, I cached for the first time in New Hampshire and Maine using an iPad with GeoBucket. This is before the API. I would download the caches for the place I stopped, then enter them into my GPS.
Interesting.
It's an interesting idea.
Oh, shall we move on to the next story, Chris?
Certainly. Jennifer of Team AJK via Google Plus and Astronaut via email. See? Great minds thinking alike. Led us to this news story. UT News, new centimeter-accurate GPS system could transform virtual reality and mobile devices. Researchers at the Cockrell School of Engineering in the University of Texas at Austin have developed a centimeter-accurate GPS positioning system. Humphreys and his team in the radio navigation lab have built a low-cost system that reduces location errors from the size of a large car to the size of a nickel, more than 100 times increase in accuracy. The breakthrough by Humphreys and his team is a powerful and sensitive software-defined GPS receiver that can extract centimeter accuracies from the inexpensive antennas found in mobile devices. Such precise measurements were not previously possible. The researchers anticipate that their software's ability to leverage low-cost antennas will reduce the overall cost of centimeter accuracy, making it economically feasible for mobile devices. Your cell phone is going to get a lot better here. So they've spent 6 years building a specialized receiver called Grid to extract the so-called carrier phase measurements from low-cost antennas. Grid currently operates outside the phone, but it will eventually run on the phone's internal processor.
Now, Apple actually just bought a nav company who's known for this centimeter accuracy stuff as well. So this is definitely going to be coming to the smartphones. But this one, looking at it, really was designed more for VR headsets and stuff, I think.
I don't know. I mean, you know, the idea is you can use the existing hardware. It doesn't require new satellites. That information's already coming back down. So it's using more processing power. So it's possible that, you know, turning on your GPS on your phone is going to consume more and more of your precious battery life.
Yeah, but battery life is getting better. Tech is getting better for the smartphones in general, and GPS. So, you know, and don't forget, by this point, you know, we're probably going to have systems like Galileo online. You know, it's not going to be like instantly that they bring those systems up online.
That's true. Yeah, the Galileo. What do they call a cluster of GPS satellites?
Constellation?
Constellation isn't fully finished yet, is it?
No, it's a long way from being finished, and sadly, they're delayed because of some issues with the launch and the failure of the two satellites to reach their intended orbit. But I think they're still hoping to get it out only a year or so later than their original timetable. And I kind of had some indications that they were looking at ramping up a little bit faster once they figured out what was going on. And the issues that they ran into were likely the launch vehicles, not the satellites themselves. So the satellite production has not halted. They're just waiting on corrections to make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's what I kind of read between the lines and interpolate from the information. Whether that's actually what's going on, I don't know.
Interesting.
I got to tell you, I don't know how I feel about more accurate cell phones, 10, 15 years from now, we're all going to be saying, I remember when I used to look for a 20-foot radius and I had to look for an hour. You kids are just going right to the spot for the geocache. I can just see that 10, 15 years from now.
Well, we keep talking about that with when I got started. I had Magellan Sport Track and the Meridian. You were lucky if you were within 50 feet. Plus, you had the boomerang effect. So we got out there. We started hunting for the caches. When we got within about 50 feet or so, 30 feet, we put down the GPS because we knew it's right about here, and we started looking. And that's what made caching fun. When we got things like the 60, it really became, oh, wow, it should be here. I can't find it. Why not? So
Yep.
I think already we're running into some of that. And it's not like a good GPS or a better GPS is going to fix placement errors. There was a cacher in the Chicagoland area who was actually banned from geocaching.com because he intentionally put the wrong coords in for every cache. I shouldn't say every cache, most caches.
For most caches, to increase the difficulty.
Yes. Are we talking about Scott Burks here?
No. Scott Burks is still alive and well, but Scott Burks does love to talk about the individual that I am talking about.
Yes, he does.
He even made the name into a verb.
So logs in the future, may say that this cache needs to be archived because it's a foot off of where, it was supposed to be. This is off by a whole 12 inches. I can't accept this. So if we get this kind of accuracy, will geocaching.com change their guidelines and allow you to increase the density or put caches closer to each other?
Well, I don't think geocaching.com is going to allow higher density, though I really kind of wish they did. It's getting to the point where out here we don't really have many available spaces, especially in the parks. The parks are saturated. So we kind of need more density to get more caches.
There you have it. Better cache density.
What Coaster says, you young kids, I remember plotting the cache coordinates on a paper map. Yes, paper. Then going out for the find.
Yep.
Oh, I remember when.
Well, the thing that I remember with the paper maps was actually going out for first to finds with Google Maps that I printed on the black and white laser printer at work. And that was a big, pretty hot deal because Google Maps came out with the satellite photos. I was like, wow, look, we have satellite photos now.
That was so cool.
That was a big thing back in what was it, 07?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that was ages ago.
I know. Well, in the tech world, that's like a century ago. But geocaching is now 15 years old, and it's grown up a lot with the technology, and it's going to continue to change because it is so dependent on the technology.
I nearly subscribed to Google's Bird's Eye, or I'm sorry, Garmin's Bird's Eye, because then I could have those on my GPS. I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Limax says his first GPS only had 2 decimal places of accuracy.
That made it really hard. I mean, that really pushed your geosense to its limit, or allowed you to develop it.
Well, when was it that you actually got in geocaching, Mike?
Back in 2007 is when I first started doing geocaching, and then I kind of just let it fall to the side for a while. And it wasn't until recently, probably a year ago, that I really started coming back to it. And it was amazing how much it changed after all that time. Just whether it was the GPSs or the rules, the types of caches, all that. It's amazing what changed.
And what GPS was it that you actually started back in 2007 using?
I think it was an eTrex 10. I think is what it was, or just maybe just a regular basic
Well, yeah,
eTrex.
it would have been an eTrex because the 10 didn't come out until
Couple of years ago.
2012, 2013,
So
which is the one that actually has the better accuracy. So it would have probably been one of those old eTrexes, which, depending on which version you had, could have been pretty
Yellow-
good, but
yellow, blue,
most
or
likely
green?
was pretty nasty.
well, I remember what, yeah, Chris. I think it was the blue one, and I got it from Target. And
That
I
was the
remember just,
eTrex Legend.
yeah, I
had
just pulled it off the shelf.
Yes,
like,
yes.
This will do.
Yep.
Hope for the best.
Well, that at least had the maps, so you weren't, could have the maps, so it wasn't completely lost cause, and the serial connection, so you could actually download the caches. You know, there was a time when you couldn't really download caches to the unit. You had to manually punch them in unless you wanted to spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I do remember going out with a few people that they would have to just hand key everything in. Never want to go back to that time. That was a bad time.
Yeah, and just the management of those waypoints, even if you did load it in, was a pain because you maybe had a waypoint or two that you had to keep around, so you couldn't just go and wipe all the waypoints. You had to go and delete them. So a lot of people, even if they had the ability to load the waypoints in, didn't want to do it. And you were limited on some of those units to like 200 or 300. It'd usually be 2 or 250 caches or waypoints that you could put in there. Yeah, and that would take like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a computer to download those. Yes.
Right, not entering by hand. So a
And you
lot of
think,
people
boy,
still
only
that
200.
old. Yeah, I know. Now we complain that we can only do 2,000, but you go and drop that in. It takes forever. You're not going to really want to do that. So people were going out with the printed papers. I remember people having binders in their cars that they'd pull out the page, do that cache, print it out. Anytime a new one came out, they'd print out that page, put it into the binder. Wow, what a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Daryl.
I think
Yes.
I remember using Yahoo Maps actually back in 2007.
They were actually using someone on geocaching.com before Yahoo Maps. Chris, can you recall who that was? I want to say it was a Microsoft property. Terra Maps?
Terra. I don't think it was Maps.
Terra? Yeah, shoot, now I can't remember. Hopefully someone in the live Q&A can refresh our idle memories here. But they had their own maps in there, and the real issue with those, they actually went and captured those in a background server task, and that was stored as an image, so you didn't have any interactive maps because at the time nothing really existed too much. You had MapQuest, which I don't think did the chords, and
it was Terra Server.
Terra Server, yes. But you had the chords that would be accepted like 1 or 2, but they didn't have maps for the whole world or something. But yeah, that's one of the biggest changes I think that's hit geocaching.com and geocaching in general. But geocaching.com was the ability to have these much improved maps, to have the satellite maps, to put multiple caches on a single map. And then probably the next thing that has actually maybe even the bigger thing was the advent of the smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Limax says in the Q&A, he was paperless from the beginning of my membership, and that was in 2004.
Yeah, I was 2006, I think, before I went premium and got the paperless. But at that point, you downloaded a Mobi Reader document, and that was your paperless on the PDA, and I had to use like a Palm to do that. What a mess.
Oh, those are good old days. I don't miss them.
And the person who we've been trying to mispronounce his name, it's actually Suchman, so we completely botched that. It's its initials in all lowercase, so we were reading it wrong. But he did confirm it is Terra server.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, I guess he didn't really confirm so much as also corroborate that he thinks it's Terra server.
Confirm nor deny.
Are you sure?
Yes. But
all right.
No. Yes and no. I can neither confirm nor deny that I said yes nor no.
Yes or no? All right. Limax says that he used Cachemate on the Palm, which I was using Cachemate after a while, but I wasn't a huge fan of Cachemate. It did save a lot of time. And if you actually had one of the units with a GPS, it would actually kind of work like a smartphone did, but the GPSs were so terrible on those devices that most people just used it to say, okay, it's the closest cache. You still really needed to have the GPS.
Yeah.
Why don't we get to the live question and let people know who the winner is? So
I almost forgot about the live question, Daryl.
Yes.
I was back in the fax machine, remembering the old days.
Someone is going to be getting this lovely Cosmolab Geocoin, and I actually knew who it is, so I think maybe we won't announce it.
Good.
What do you think?
No, don't announce it.
It's a secret.
Is it Dano of Team Pugat? Should he win again?
No.
Okay.
No, he did submit an answer. It wasn't him.
It was starting to look like a conspiracy.
Yeah, I will say it is someone local.
Did I win?
No.
No.
You can't enter.
Well, you say I can't enter, but I can work this out somehow.
No, but it is a local cacher who has won from us before, but not all that recently. So
see.
maybe I think we've gone on long enough.
Okay.
We'll just say a fish out of water, actually. So I'm hoping that she's going to be at the event on Sunday morning, and I can pass her the really cool Cosmolab Geocoin.
You really know how to save on shipping, don't you, Daryl?
Well, when I can. Dano says that he's not allowed to win, and Limax says that can't be him because he's not local.
Well, and Dano can't win because he actually won on Michael's show. The Cache and Release podcast as well. So yeah, no, he's out of the running for the next 6 months.
Well, and he won on this show this week, so
The man's on a streak, I'm telling you.
Yes, he is. It seems like that happens quite a bit. I'll frequently find the winner of not all that frequently, but enough that it's notable that a winner on our show also won on GSR Geo Snippets Reboot the same week.
Or Podcacher, or yeah.
Or yeah, that's happened a couple of times as well.
How do you win on all these, within a month, and then we won't hear from them for a year because they got all the good stuff. They don't need us anymore.
That could be it, though I have to say that usually I still see the entries coming in. So, by all means, continue to enter. You're allowed to win multiple weeks in a row. And wasn't it the last randomized show that the winner of that week also won the drawing for the live show? Or am I just imagining that?
No, you're right. You're right. It was a little bit ago. But yeah, we had the winner on the previous week, or the next week of the previous week. It's just I don't remember how it worked out. This whole time thing I still can't figure out. Are you sure it's not in Roman numerals?
No, I know it's not in Roman numerals, but it is very confusing. I blame the time zones though. And I think a fish out of water says she's going to try to make it to the event on Sunday. She has scuba on Saturday that she'll be recovering from. So if she misses it, maybe she's entered a warp zone in the scuba that takes her to a different time zone or something.
If you still have your scuba gear on, fish out of water, well, she'd be in water. Come on over here because the cache nearest to me is a scuba cache. I put it on the ignored list, but I really want to get it off the ignored list. I want to be able to claim that one. I'll swim out there with you. You just have to go down, bring it up, and I'll sign it, and you can put it back.
Well, we've been babbling a long time, guys.
Speaking of fish.
It's just cachers getting together and babbling, of course. So you guys want to hang out a little bit after we wrap up now, and we'll do a patron bonus show?
Absolutely.
Sounds
Love
great.
Nothing more.
So, Mike, hang on with us. Thanks again for showing up. And since we didn't really get a chance to introduce you properly, tell us where they can find your show.
You can go to my show at cacheandrelease.com, and you can stream or download it, or just go out to iTunes and subscribe to the Cache and Release podcast.
And as we mentioned, that is a great new show that a number of the GeoGearHeads have obviously taken up, especially based on the emails that have been coming our way this week when we announced you were coming on the show.
Thank you for having me on, and apparently my audio skill set, though, still needs some work here.
Well, we're going to blame it on the Googles, because we've had some Google issues tonight, to be sure.
Yes.
I'm going to go with that.
It's not uncommon, let me put it that way.
All right, I'll go with that.
We have some great shows coming up. Now, next week we're talking Open Caching North America, and that's going to be great. After that, we're talking boating with Aaron of coinsandpins.com. June 11th is the geocaching.com guidelines. June 18th is the OpenStreetMaps. That's number 2 because we've already done 1. And June 25th is the UK Mega 2015. We'll be talking with people who know more about that than I do.
Which I don't think is very tough, seeing as we're not in the UK, and we just have to get all of our information from those UK podcasts about such things.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to go straight to the horse's mouth and get it from them. And next week...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, they're probably not horses. Yeah. I don't think the horses are running the UK Megas, but I guess we'll find out on June 25th. But next week we've got the guys from Open Caching North America, and gals, to talk about that service. So we've got a question for question 178 about Open Caching North America, and we're going to kind of tie it in with tonight's show as well. So get your emails ready, title them question 178. Send it to GeoGearHeads at cachemaniacs.com and tell us what the OU code for the Open Caching North America virtual cache in Disney's Animal Kingdom is. Include that in the body with your screen name for geocaching.com, or if you have one, you can do Open Caching North America as well. Have that to us by 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 27th of May, and you could have a chance at another great prize from coinsandpins.com. So remember, that is question 178 to GeoGearHeads at cachemaniacs.com.
And we won't make you do that question number in Roman numerals. So, what we want you to do, though, is check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com, or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming, so please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show's copyright 2015 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash, really, Cachemaniacs.